more or less just make a brief statement regarding how we're going to do this, that we come to the items that you want to discuss. I asked, because obviously several of your groups are here regarding certain items, I asked that you have a spokesman for your group and limited. We really don't have the time to have 10 or 15 people come up and specifically talk about the same item, expressing the same concerns. So I ask that you, as we come to these various items you want to discuss, you please pick a spokesman and come up. We'll open it up and let you people speak specifically to those. A lot of the items that I have in front of me are regarding various things that I think need to be discussed in our town hall and not discussed during the actual meeting here. I welcome all of you to stay after the meeting for our town hall so we can discuss those items you want to talk about. Okay? Now we're going to have an open session, and I got a couple of things that can be discussed at this time. And Wynette Burns.
Thank you. Mr. President, board, and neighbors. As a result of our concerns and the concerns expressed by the PPOA membership, 10 of the past presidents of the board who served with Michael Bartholomew while Mr. Bartholomew was employed as PPOA general manager, initiated a meeting with our current board president, Roger Eads. This past President's Council met with Mr. Eads to discuss the circumstances and processes the current board followed to terminate Mr. Bartholomew. The Council remains impressed with Mr. Eads' integrity and empathy, and although we believe the decision was proper and valid, we were very disappointed with the termination process. Because our group's concern is the future of our association, we assured Mr. Eads that he and the selection committee appointed to hire a new general manager would have our support in that endeavor and in any other manner that they might find helpful. And we would ask that this statement be published in the columns. Thank you.
Certainly, Wynette. And I appreciate that show of solidarity behind the board.
What do you think?
And I appreciate the board member, the presidents that were here and stood in solidarity to that. Thank you very much. At this time, does anyone on the board want to make a comment? All right. Now, I got a couple of people that wanted to speak. Joel Nyman.
Reputation precedes him.
Well, it was enlightening to hear that the prior board presidents and board members thought that the termination was proper. Okay. Does anybody here on the board know what the complaint was as to the termination policy? In other words, what was done during the termination?
You want us to speak to that?
Yes.
Personnel. Go ahead.
Let me just say this. What Roger was going to say is a personnel between the board members and Michael Bartholomew. And I don't think it's necessary to or proper that we should publicize that issue. But, you know, the comment I'd like to make was, you know, my father-in-law was a Baptist minister, and every 6 to 8 years, him and his congregation would go separate ways. And I asked him, you know, how he felt about that. And he basically said that after 6 to 8 years, that he had given his congregation everything that they could take from him. And that his congregation had basically gotten everything they could get from him. And it was time to move on and find somebody else that could take them on down the road. Well, Michael did a good job for us. He started 2004, we were financially struggling, and he brought us to where we are today with $3 million. But it became time that we look for somebody that could take us on down the road. So that's probably the best answer you're going to get.
Well, can I ask the members that want this thing published that Wynette spoke about as to what was their concern over the way it was handled? Nobody wants to speak to that, so we're just going to put something in the record with no reason.
I will read something in the record when we discuss that.
Okay, and finally, I guess that's all I have to say on that. I hope at some point, since there's so much you all talk about next door being full of rumors and innuendos and God knows what else, that something comes out as to the final termination, the final reason, okay? What happened during the tour? What was seen during the tour? What didn't get followed up when it was asked for during the tour? And it'd be a full disclosure to our membership of the reasons why. There are still people here that don't understand what happened. And rumors are floating around as to this happened and that happened. And this was, you know, the building was falling down and everything else. We need to have something from the board eventually put out and published either in the Columns magazine that deals with this issue and exactly what transpired.
Thank you, Joel.
Roger,
Yes.
I would like to say something to Joel. Because of the sensitive nature of this, I feel it's best to give you a measured response, and so I've written some notes here. Our board should be an extension of our members. Their expectations of fairness, openness, and good business management in all areas. We should build trust and confidence with the membership through open communications and transparency. We don't always do and say the things each of you expect, but we weigh the options and reach the best conclusions we can. As for the separation of our general manager, a lot of thought and consideration went into that decision and how it was handled. The decision was made for valid reasons, which need no further explanation. The way the termination was executed was also for the best of everyone and consistent throughout the business world. And speaking for myself, I make no apologies for how it was handled.
All right, that's enough. Thank you. Thank you, Joel.
Well, you know, in business, I've been in business. Yeah. Roger, wait a second. I've been in business. I've been in business. And when we've had to terminate somebody for a reason, okay, it was done in that manner. Okay? Whatever manner it was done. They're not allowed to hang around or anything else. Okay? That's when I stood over a desk and let them get a few things, and then we packed up the stuff later. This is the way it was done. Sensitive information is available to somebody, and in the case of the computer field, passwords were changed, everything was changed. Key passes, everything was changed.
All right,
and that's
Joel,
how it's done.
Joel, thank you. Mike Robeson?
Huh?
Robo, whatever.
Well, I was gonna do this when he started talking. I wasn't going to say no to her, or yes to her, because I don't think she was.
First of all, it's Robinius, a 20-year resident of Pecan, one of 11 Robiniuses in the United States of America. So that's probably why you didn't recognize the name. I once served on this board. And I know the challenges that you face. I had a couple of board meetings where we had crowds like this with issues. First of all, I want to thank you for your service and for the actions you're taking. Finally, we have a board that will take action when action is needed. I'm sorry that these other presidents, and most of them I really like and they're my friends, have seen fit to come forth and challenge you about the way the Bartholomew situation was handled. They have served their time, and now it is time for them to let you serve your time. But I'm going to relate a story. I don't know why he was terminated, but in 40 years of managing various functions, from a warehouse supervisor at Campbell Soup to a president of a company, I listened to the grapevine. And so the grapevine tells me that it had something to do with the 19th hole. For the last 10 years, I, with some other guys, have met 5 days a week in the 19th hole at 6 a.m. for conversation, coffee, and breakfast. 10 years. About 3 years ago, when the filthy conditions that existed in the food preparation area there were discovered by me. I took pictures of those and sent them to Michael Bartholomew and John Thomas. A few days later, I was called to a meeting in Mr. Bartholomew's office, and in that meeting was Mr. Heitschmidt, Mr. Bartholomew, and Mr. Thomas. The first question they asked was, who all did you send these pictures to? Only to Michael and to John Thomas, because they were the responsible parties for cleaning it up. And then following that, Mr. Heitschmidt and Mr. Bartholomew and Mr. Thomas began to criticize me going in unauthorized areas and taking pictures. It was filthy in a food preparation area. Now, here's what I have to say. If Mr. Heitschmidt and Mr. Bartholomew and Mr. Thomas had done what they should have done 3 years ago, Mr. Bartholomew may still be the general manager. Thank you.
Okay, she's reading the notes.
Many of the other questions that we have, and I have several, or do not relate specifically, or several of them do not specifically discuss what we have on the agenda, and so those will be answered at the town hall meeting after this meeting. Next, we will move to the minutes. I need a motion, please, to approve the minutes for March 1st, 2018.
Mr. President, I make a motion we approve the minutes.
I have a motion.
And I'd second that motion, Mr. President.
Second the motion. Discussion. All in favor? Lifted hand. Approved. Next, we will move to the financials. Treasurer report, and Bob Cote will present that report.
I think we've seen those already, haven't we? Let's see this already.
Good evening, everybody. Listen, we're going to have a shorter version of the financial report that you normally get to see. But I would direct you to the financial information that was made available to you as you walked in here. What we're going to talk about here is all a summary of this statement of revenue and expenses. Okay, so let's get started with the overall summary for revenues and expenses in the month of February. We had total revenues of $506,511. $202,000 or $3,000 of that was from sales revenue. The rest is from assessments and other revenues. Our total expenditures were $492,918, and our net surplus for the month was $13,593. Now, if we look at the year-to-date, now we're into the fourth month of this year. The fiscal year starts for us in November. So the 1st of November is the first month of our business year. So we're into the fourth month now, February. So through 4 months, we have total revenues of $2.2 million, total expenses of $1.8 million, for a net surplus of $87,524. All right?
That's wrong.
See what?
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Well, what are we talking about here? What 4,000?
The math.
$87,524 surplus. Is that what it is?
Difference is $400,000. Yeah,
Hold on. Janice, what's that number? Hold on, we'll get it.
My patience is wearing thin, let me tell you. I don't think what I said was doable.
That's good math, you guys. That's good. Yeah.
Thank you. I was waiting on you to.
The applause was much louder.
What is the math on that? That's 4, that's 5.
That's not right.
399, 154.
All right, let's move. All right, total comparison for the February. Okay, if I can have your attention here. What we're going to do now, in the past, we used to show the monthly performance of each department to the budget, and that took quite a long time. So what we're going to do is give you the total operations to the budget, and then we'll get to each department where the actual expenditures and overhead expenditures, where we come to our net total expenditures or profit. So this is all we'll show from the budget. And if you want more information on the details of the individual departments, just look at your sheets that were made available to you as you came in. And if you need further assistance on that, just come to me or Janice, and we'll clarify any questions you have on that. So basically, what we have here through February, in February, we had a net surplus of $11,476. Last year, we had $37,536, so we have a difference of $23,943 of a negative variance for the month of February. But if you look at it through the year, you'll see that we have a net surplus deficit of $40,949. So as we operate and measure against the budget, we're doing okay through the first 4 months. Now, if we project this out to the end of the year, if we just project it out, all you do is multiply the numbers we had times 3, and that gives you, we should end up the year at $6.6 million with a net surplus of $262,572 or thereabouts. But that could change depending on unexpected expenditures that come up and things like that. So this is the most important part of the financials that we need to know. Each department has its revenues, and in some cases they have no revenues, like facility maintenance or member services has no revenues. But they all have expenses, and we measure income and loss against the budget. But in our accounting system, we have a G&A account that records about $1.5 million in a year. So what we have to do here is take that amount. In the month of February, that amount was $123,000. Can you see that where it says indirect overheads at the bottom? That includes things like our office management costs, our lawyers, our accounting fees, some indirect other expenses, shared expenditures like utilities and water for this building only gets charged out to the G&A account. So what we do is we take a ratio of the total expenses of each department, take a percentage of that, and assess that amount of indirect. So it gives us a net cost of operating each department. And in this case, we have it in order of most expensive. So our most expensive amenity here is golf. So for the month of February, the net cost to operate our golf operations, that's the golf course and the pro shop, was $66,000 or $21.76 to each member. All right, and you can look at security. Our security costs us a net cost of $52,000 in the month of February, which is $17.10 to each one of you, and that comes from your assessments. All right, roads and grounds. If you take roads and grounds and facility maintenance, our maintenance here is pretty expensive. So roads and grounds is $16.72 per member, and facility maintenance is another $7.39. Sports and recreation, net cost is $36,011.97 each, and so on down the line. The best operation we have here is stables. It made money. Income loss, but when we apply the indirect overheads. John, are you there? Hey, John. IT guy, what is that came up? Oh, it's gone. All right. So, okay, and then if we look at it through, the first 4 months, you'll see that on the right side, the very right side, is the cost per member for these various amenities. And you can see that all of our operations, none of them are really profit-making. They're really amenities that we pay our assessments to have and the services that are provided to us. Now, here's our payroll is our most expensive expense. In February, our total payroll was $506,511 against a budget of $519, so we were $13,000 below budget. But as we're told in our meetings, for instance, in our maintenance, we're lacking 4 employees, so that reflects in that number there. But if you look at our cost, our labor cost at the revenues ratio, we're at 55.6% to total revenues. Last year we were 53%, so it looks like we increased here about 2%. But if we look at it for the year, you notice that last year at this time our ratio was 55.8 to our total revenues, but this year through the first 4 months we're at 54, so we've improved almost 2%. So this is an area we're going to try to improve on as we go on through the year. Now, if we look at our cash position here, this is our operating cash. We had total operating revenues for the year, you saw in the previous slide, of $2.2 million. Our total goods sold were $311,000. Our gross operating profit was 1.8, almost $2 million. Our labor expenses were $1,199,846. Other expenses $614 for a net income before depreciation of $87,522 or thereabouts. And our operating cash on the books, is that right, Janice? Is $393 minus. This includes the outstanding accounts receivables and payables and stuff that we have still yet to pay. So we have cash there of operating cash of about $393,024. Now that number will change as expenditures come up. Like for instance, Michael Bartholomew's, for instance, his cost and his the benefits upon leaving, that'll apply. We'll see that next month. So that number will move as we spend more money. All right, current financial position here is we have operating funds of $393,000. We have capital reserves at $2,186,000, and we have a new capital fund. That's a new fund of $96,000, and road and drainage at $617,000 for a total amount of cash of $3.2 million. Now, Doug will be explaining the capital expenditures and the capital funds and how that stuff is moving. So, in essence, what we have here, this is how we get our revenues from assessments. We all have a monthly assessment of $151.93, and that's how it's broken down. And we have 3,059 members, so now on a yearly, our general fund will get $3.3 million annually, and capital reserve will benefit $293,000. Road and drainage $697. Trash pickup $520. Trash pickup is a pass-through. It doesn't go on our books. And EMS contribution is the same. That sort of takes care of that. Does anybody have any questions on this? If not, I'll turn it over to Doug, and he'll. Oh, yeah. Hold on just a moment. Yes, go ahead.
I know you didn't expect this large a crowd.
Yeah.
But you need to have this financial information available to everyone that wants it. So if there's someone that didn't get it, who should they see afterwards?
You can see our controller, Janice. But we issued everybody had a chance to get a copy of the financials as you came in here today. Here, they were at the table, so I'll give you this one, okay? And basically what we discussed here is a summary of what's on that, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. Bob kind of took the pressure off me, you know. makes it a whole lot easier to go second. I just wanted to correct a couple of things. He has stated that our projection, based on the first 4 months for the end of the year, is about $252,000 that we would have surplus. Our budget varies every month. You know, some months are good months for us, some months are not so good. Summer, we generally generate more revenues than we do in the winter, fall. So the projection based on the first 4 months, if you multiply by 3, is not going to give you the exact answer. As we go on, other months we won't earn as much because of the amount of the loss in revenues that we might not generate, or the additional costs for sports and rec that we might. And so we won't end the year with $252,000 surplus. It'll probably be closer to, like last year, I think it was $74,000. The second thing I'd like to comment on was our cash balance in the bank. Bob reported it as $383,000. You know, last year we were reporting cash balance of about $1 million. Well, what we're doing now is an apples and oranges. That cash balance last year was just a slice in time. It did not look at bills payable. So what we've done is taken that $1 million and corrected it for all the bills that are coming in that we know we have obligations for. And so the number we're trying to report now is an actual number that's actual what we have if we were to pay all our bills and to date. Okay, let me go on to the reserve funds that we have. We have 3 basic funds: the capital reserve fund, the new capital fund, and our road and drainage fund. Our capital reserve fund, that's basically is $8 per month per member that goes into capital reserves. That's for the maintenance of all of our facilities, all of our assets that we have that are inventoried and on our list. Our list isn't always accurate. We're always finding things that are left off the list, but it doesn't mean that we don't have an obligation to maintain and repair those items anyway. The $8 times the number of members only comes up to about $300,000 a year. But we have supplement that goes into that, which is membership initiation for new members that are joining Pecan every year. That's, you know, in the past, that's run over 200 new members every year. And that accounts for another $600,000. So we actually generate over $900,000 every year that goes in our capital reserve fund. Okay, our beginning balance, you can see, is $2,175,000. Funds deposited to date, and our funds that we have expended. So we currently have $2.1 million or thereabouts in our capital reserve fund. The new capital fund is something that, as our membership went over 3,000, that back in 2001, when we did the limo agreement, our board of directors at that time decided that we should take the initiation fees for the people over 3,000 members, put that into a fund specifically for new capital assets in order to serve our growing population. So that money is set aside for new additions like the 7th tennis court, the pickleball court that we don't currently exist. And so that fund is basically preserved for new additions. We currently have almost $100,000 in that fund right now. Okay, and then lastly, our road and drainage fee, that's $19 per month per member. And that goes into our roads and drainage. That's to maintain our roads, to repair our ditches, to repair the drain pipes. We started the year with $1.2 million. We currently have $617,000. Now, some of the big hitters that have depleted that fund were the Westover drainage, you know, which was, you know, $600,000, and our new entry road, which was over $700,000, I believe. Okay, these are the capital projects that have been completed so far this year. I'm not going to read the list, but you can see, what they are. The telephone tower system, that was $110,000. That's probably a good deal. We were paying over $4,000 a month to AT&T. Now we're via VoIP, internet-based phone system. Hopefully our costs are going to go down a lot. So that was a pretty good deal. And then you can see the Westover, the frontage road, the Westover draining. And the draining animation was, we last year spent to get precise topographical data on pecan plantation so we could map where the water goes when it rains. We have several areas that flood out every year. We're able to animate that. We spent $49,000 to our engineers to animate that, and we can see where the water road, what issues we need to work on. And currently we have identified Wedgefield, and that was a no-brainer. You guys know that. Woodlawn. We also are looking at Monticello Circle. So that was a good deal. It's going to provide good benefits to all of our members. Okay, these are the capital, the work in progress. The Marina Dock and Pier, Marina Dock and fuel pump is just about completed. Matter of fact, I think today it just virtually is completed. Bunker liners for the golf course is going in. Irrigation is being design study. We have an engineer that's has already surveyed the golf course, and he's working on a nice irrigation replacement for the current golf course irrigation. Okay, and then every year we go through the budget cycle and we look at all the items on our asset list and which ones need to be replaced. And these are all the items that we identified to be replaced in 2018. It came up to a grand total of $760,000, which is, it seems like a lot. But again, we collect. This year we will collect over $900,000. Those are all the items that we will be working on this year. Okay, so I'd say health of our capital asset fund. Obviously, this is the biggie, and $2.1 million. And this basically takes our capital assets, looks at their life expectancy and when we need to replace them. And so we have planned out what items get replaced and when they get replaced. And this is the status of our funds. So you see we dropped down significantly in 2019. We dropped down to just a little over 500,000 in 2020. Both of those two big hits is the golf course irrigation, which is, we split it over 2 years. The total cost for that is going to be $1.8 million, or $900,000 a year. And then after that, we slowly start creeping back up. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience? Board, does the board have any comments? All right, no questions?
Let me make one comment before we leave. We've started we're trying to simplify how we report, and Bob has done a great job. I've sat here for 2 years watching eyes glass over as our GM went over the costs of each department, and the variances between what they were budgeted and what they achieved, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And so I like to think that what we're giving here is easier to understand, better information.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is some old business, and it's a report of the executive session. I have a statement to read into the record. The board met in an emergency special meeting on March 22nd, 2018, in executive session to consider and discuss a severance issue with a former employee and related legal guidance from the Association General Counsel. Bylaw 5.1, which states following executive session, any decision made in the executive session must be summarized orally and placed in the minutes. In general terms, without breaching the privacy of individual owners, violating any privilege, or disclosing information that was to remain confidential at the request of the affected parties, the board is not at liberty to discuss the details of the executive session or the parameters of the severance being discussed. That is our statement of our executive session. No other old business, so we will now move to new business. And the first one is budget requirement requiring our action. And do I have a motion regarding approved $25,000 to engage professional services of Merrill Owens and Associates to produce candidates for the general manager position?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I don't care. All right, so that motion is approved. That budget requirement has been approved. Next, we move to B, ACE 18-10-13, Plain View Park renovation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion based on technical, administrative, and contracting issues that we table this item.
I have a motion that we table this. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I second that motion.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Now, at this point, any opposed? One opposed. Now, at this point, because I know that several of you are here for this specific item, it has been tabled, but with that in, I think it's only fair that there are people here that want to make a statement. And so at this time, and I'm asking one of you, the group who does not feel that this should be built, they feel they're negative about this, I would like to have a spokesman, if they feel so, to come up and speak to this specifically. Do I have someone to do that? Have you?
Quick running. I'm just going to point out something, and I'm going to ask the board very simply based on our policy. Now, there's been a lot of debate because it's supposedly not on the books, etc., whether Plainview Park actually exists. Well, we can all see it actually exists, correct? Everybody will agree with that? All right, it exists. Now, can we also agree that when you look at the tennis facility over there, that actually exists also, and that one's on the books? Is that agreeable to everybody that the tennis facility does in fact exist? Yes. Okay. Now let's get to our policy manual, gentlemen. Maybe you want to pull it out. Now, when we go to the policy, now we have to admit, well, Plainview Park as it exists, okay, what we're doing wouldn't be new since it exists. So it wouldn't be, according to our policy manual, Section 10 capital asset policy, that is a type 1 asset. Capital projects that involve the development of assets that do not currently exist. Projects costing more than $50,000 must be approved by the appropriate bylaws by PPO members. Well, that doesn't apply to Plainview Park because it exists. It's not a new asset. Now, then it goes on to define current assets. A type 2 asset. Capital projects that involve modification of existing assets, including refurbishment, renovation, or expansion. And then type 3 capital assets, capital projects that involve replacement of existing assets, including the relocation and/or enlargement of the asset. Now, it goes on to say that type 1 funding has to come from costing less than $50,000.
Joel, just a moment.
All right, the point is this. The point is very simply, the tennis courts had to go to a vote. It is simply a type 2, it's a type 2 asset. It exists. It is an expansion. There are 6 other tennis courts there. There is a building there. That is an expansion of an existing amenity. And if that had to go to a vote, this Plainview Park has to go to a vote of the members, period. And it must also, based on the rest of this policy, okay, if you look at your own policy manual, it also has to go through the camp process. It did not go through the camp process, at least
No,
it went through the camp. Then why isn't it on the website? When did it go through the camp process?
Joe, we're not here to argue.
Okay. When did it go through the camp process? The building, the EAA building, went through the camp process. I find nowhere on the camp process that's on our website where it actually went through the camp process. Why isn't it on our website?
All right, Joel, or you
But
make a
again,
statement.
the statement is very simply, if the tennis court needed a vote, okay, then Plainview Park needs a vote.
Thank you, Joel. Now I ask the John, you will speak to acceptance of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to address this, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and membership. I think we just established that it's an existing asset. And the asset has been through every conceivable committee. All the way through, it was in the budget. You saw it in the budget. Although the airport is not in Mr. Cote's line item, as is tennis and golf and everything else, because it's so low cost. Now, this pavilion was destroyed by a storm a year and a half ago and has sat looking derelict. We finally, the association finally cut the poles down. Now, what we're asking to replace it with has been vetted, gone through all of the appropriate committees, and now is being stifled by the board. The only difference, or the big difference between the existing, or what used to exist and no longer exists, is that it has a hard cover. The hard cover is to keep from having to replace the tarpaulin at a cost of $20,000 to $30,000 every time the wind blows through. So is it fiscally prudent to approve Plainview Park? I think that it is. It's in the budget. It's been in long-range planning. It's been in the master plan. It's been in the airport plan, excuse me. I would like to see you reverse, if you will, your tabling of the project and move forward with it, even if it's to put the tarp back up. But let's get going on it. Let's not sit on this thing and find issues that don't exist, like, geez, it's not an existing amenity. It really is an existing amenity. Right, Joel?
You can see it, whether it's on the book or not.
Yeah.
And if you
Again, we're not here to debate.
I do not envy you in your decision-making process. However, I do applaud you for serving, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
John, thank you. I want to assure everyone that we tabled this because we're looking at it from a fresh standpoint, and we will get together, and the board is in full agreement that we will work together on this to come up with a solution. So it's not we're just tabling it to avoid a problem. So we are working on this, and we will work with the committees to accomplish it. Thank you. Any from the board, any comments before we move on? Next we'll move to B, ACE 18-10 ACE 1810-08A. Do you have a motion on this?
What tab is that on? What tab?
That is tab B.
Tab B.
That's the one that got.
That's supposed to be, it's not right. Finance.
Mr. President, I move that this item be tabled. It was tabled at the Finance Committee, and it was put on the agenda by mistake, so we will table it. I recommend we table it pending resolution at the Finance Committee.
All right, we have a motion to table this pending further information. Oh, I'm sorry, Bev. This is going to be the design main level bathroom, Blue Bonnet and Magnolia rooms. There was some question at the Finance Committee regarding the contract. So at that time, it was tabled at the Finance Committee, and unfortunately, it was put on our agenda for tonight. So that's why it was motion made to table it. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
I have a second motion. Any discussion from the board? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Hearing none, it is tabled. Next, we move to D, ACE 18-10-09, Table C in our books. Buffalo blowers for $15,832. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we accept ACE 18-10-09 for the Buffalo blowers.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second? Any discussion?
I don't think this has anything to do with Buffalo. If Bobby's out there, I think what these are blowers that are used to blow grass clippings off the fairways and leaves and things like that. Is that correct, Mr. Underwood?
Correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Can we do that once?
Any opposed?
No.
So moved. Next, we move to E, ACE 18-10-11, West Circle improvements for $10,000. That is your table D.
Mr. President, I move we accept AC 18-10-11 for improvement to the West Circle. And this is the first step. It's for 30 to 40 trees to be moved into the West Circle.
Do I have a second on that, please?
Mr. President, I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, lifting of your right hand. Any opposed? There are none. Next, we move to F, ACE.
Must be green thumb.
We move to F, ACE-18-10-12, club pool picnic tables for $3,325. That is your table E.
Mr. President, I move the motion on AC 18-10-12 for $3,500 for new picnic tables for the clubhouse pool.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Is, Keith, you want to speak to this, or anyone have any questions regarding these picnic tables? Hearing none. All those in favor, the lifting of your right hand. Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none. Accepted. G now is approved stables overnight boarding contract. Do I have a motion to accept this? A motion by Darlene.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Darlene. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
We have a second. Darlene, would you like to speak to this, please?
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Oh. Hello. Yes. Okay. What this is from the Pecan Plantation Stables has asked for an agreement for boarding horses by visiting guests. And what they're asking is that we approve this contract where the boarding fee will be $10 per night per horse, not to exceed the limit of 15 days in residence. They will be using 2 of the open pen areas. And in addition, the owner of the horse will be responsible for all care of their horse or horses, including feed and grain, although we will provide water and so forth for the animals. The owner agrees to clean up after their animals daily. It says daily and upon departure, as a wheelbarrow and rake will be made available. The owners, when they leave, they must clean up appropriately. If not, there will be a one-time fee of $20. And guests understand this, and they will sign this agreement when they check in at the front desk upon arrival.
Good job. Good job.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of lifting your right hand? Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, so approved. Next, we move on to, on the agenda, 7, the committees. And first one is A. We need to approve the committee chairs for the year 2018 to 2019. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the chairmans for our committees.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion.
We'll give you the list. We don't want to read them all.
No, I can read them real quick.
Well, we don't have. All right, we will read them all.
Yeah, I'll read them off real quick. Airport Committee will be John McComish. ACC, Jim Miller. Audit is Joe Hartman. Bylaws, Bob Maurer. Communication, Brian Rogers. Entertainment, Brenda Palmer. Golf is Stuart Coley. Horse owners, Tammy Dressman. House Food and Beverage is Lou Turner. Infrastructure, Eric Delagarza. Limo will be Ron Liddell. Long Range Planning, Joe Hartman. Marina is Jerry Cotter. Safety and Security, Gordon Johnson. Sports and Rec will be Brenda Palmer also. And then Wildlife is Vance Blaylock. Currently, we do not have a volunteer yet for the Finance Committee, the Grounds Committee, or the Membership Orientation Committee. Those are to be determined, and we're awaiting the previous chairman's recommendation and his board committee members to nominate who they want to be in those positions. We will make that assignment on at our May board.
Mr. President, I have a comment here on the committees.
Yes.
I think it's inappropriate to have the Audit Committee listed on this list because the Audit Committee, according to the bylaws, in a policy statement on Audit Committee requires the Audit Committee itself as a body of the full Board of Directors to choose their own chairman. So I suggest that we remove the Audit Committee from this list.
Well, it is like you said, that committee reports directly to the board.
It's a part of the
Right.
board. It's a
part of the board,
yeah,
and it is,
right.
is board members.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I have no problem with that. All those.
Thank you.
Okay. All those that approve, the right hand, please. Any opposed? We move to the next item. Yes,
Mr. President, I think the record has to reflect that this approval is, not including the Audit Committee. You have that, Mary?
You already had that down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move to DCR CR 18-02-001, Safety and Security, to clarify who should attend the monthly Board of Director workshop from the committee. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept DCR CR 18-02-001. This is a pretty simple change. it designates that the person from the Safety and Security Committee who attends the board workshop should be a voting member of the committee, not just a member. There's some members who are not voting members.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, the lifting of the right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none, approved. Next, we move to C, DCR CR 18-02-002A, grounds to increase the number of members of the committee from 9 to 11. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we accept this DCR.
All right. Have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Discussion?
We're trying to get our procedures down here right. You know, that generally the rules of order says that you make a motion, you second, and then you have discussion, which is kind of an interesting way to go. But this DCR, I had asked the Grounds Committee last year if they would reach out and try to incorporate more members into their group, and they agreed, and they have decided to increase their membership. I think that's a wonderful thing. I'm all for this. Unfortunately, the sad thing about this is I think we only have 5 people who've signed up for Grounds Committee, so I would encourage anybody who wants to volunteer. We could certainly use more committee members in the Grounds Committee.
And with the numbers here, we'll bring the book down to you. So please stay afterwards and sign. We have a motion to accept and a second. All those in favor of saying aye? Right hand. I'll just say aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Judge, all of us married. Next, we move to the DCR PL 18-02-003 to update PPOA's authorization for capital expenditure, the ACE form, to comply with changes to the policy section 12.7-3. Do I have a motion to accept this?
Yeah, Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve this DCR.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
I have a second. Discussion?
This is just a change in the form for the ACE. It adds a line for a modification of an asset. Right now, it just lists new asset or replacement of an asset. This adds a third option of modification of the asset, and it also adds in the funding the approved funding. It adds the new capital fund. Prior to now, we only had 2 funds to fund these expenditures. Now we have that third one, which is the new capital fund. So it's just a change in the form itself. Is Bob Zinski here? By the way,
he is in Germany.
Okay, fine. He's the finance committee and Zinski are the author of this thing. So I move that we approve it.
All right. Any discussion from the board? All right. From the rest of the board. All right. All those in favor, lift to the right hand, please, so we can get the count right. All right. Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none. Next, E, DCR RR-18-02-005, safety, 004, dress code, to clarify section 4.5 on proper dress for the clubhouse. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
You second that. Discussion.
I get the fun stuff. Horses and dresses, okay. What the change is to section 4.5 reads, unless otherwise posted or on special notices, dress in all dining areas of Pecan Plantation Clubhouse will be in good taste, casual dress, or better. The wearing of hats, caps, or other headgear by men or boys when dining in the terrace room, ballroom, or banquet rooms is not permitted. Swimwear is permitted only in the pool area. Appropriate swimwear cover-ups are required in the clubhouse common areas when going from room area to the pool. And lastly, appropriate footwear is required in all areas of the clubhouse.
All those in favor by the uplifted right hand? Any opposed? Same sign, none. Next we move to F. DCRRR 18-02-005, safety and security to double the fines for traffic violations. Do I have a motion to accept this?
Mr. President, I move we approve DCR-RR-18-02-005.
Mr. President, I second that.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. President, the Safety and Security Committee has discussed the traffic problems out here at length. They have considered different remedies. They considered an engineering study, traffic study, to determine whether our speed limits are appropriate for our roads. They thought about making the speed limits uniform, raising the truck speed limit to 30 miles an hour and lowering the car speed limit to from 35 to 30 miles an hour. They've talked about raising speed limits in certain parts of the plantation. But the bottom line is, this is the compromise that the Safety and Security Committee came up with to double the traffic fines and encourage our security department to increase patrols so that people get the message that they need to slow down.
Any discussion from the board? Hearing none. All those in favor, uplifted right hand. Same sign. And opposed? There are none. Next we move to G, DCRRR 18-02-006, Golf Committee, to include wording requiring members to only use approved tires on golf carts for use on Pecan Plantation Country Club and golf course, and to establish the authority of club management to determine which tires are acceptable or allowed. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept DCR 18-02-006 as you read it.
Do I have a second on this motion?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Discussion?
Mr. President, the DCR was written in light of some of the modifications being made to the golf cart these days. There's extreme lift kits being added. Now you can buy upwards of 26-inch tires. Unfortunately, some of those larger diameter tires come with knobs, which can be detrimental to the golf course. The OEM folks and the retail people say they're golf course approved. Well, they're not actually, because we should be the ones to say whether they're approved or not. And I think all we're trying to do is control damage being done to the course by 26-inch tires and maybe 20 with knobbies, which wouldn't work out.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this, please raise your right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lastly, H, DCR CR 18-3-001, Communications. Increase the number of members on the committee from 5 to 7. Update titles of management and require electronic votes to be recorded in committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve communications to increase the number of members on the committee from 5 to 7.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion. Would anyone care to discuss this?
I'll discuss it. They need more members, give it to them.
Are we okay? You ready to move on? Okay, all right, we're ready. All those in favor, uplifted right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. So passed. We didn't have a manager. Okay. Doug is going to give us our management report.
Yeah, real brief and short. Me, Roger, and the other board members are holding down the fort upstairs, acting GMs. I'm proud to say it's an easy job. The hard part is dealing with the membership, but running of the organization just hums right along because of our department managers. I mean, they literally do a good job. They don't require much supervision at all, or virtually no supervision. So, I'm happy to report that we are running really sweet and not really having a problem. We have started our GM search. We have turned on our headhunter, and to date, we have not gotten any candidates yet, but we're still looking. But I just want to reassure everybody that this is a well-run organization, and everything I've learned so far, I'm proud of this organization and how it works and functions.
Again, the members, don't take that personal, what he said about you. But I certainly do. I applaud him for what he said. We have tremendous employees here. We're very fortunate. They work hard. And he's right. In fact, we probably... By us being there, we probably get in their way sometimes.
I just have one comment to make, Mr. President. During the change and the transition that we're having right here, I've been tasked with signing every check that's payable out of PPOA, and every check that's over $1,000. Doug and I sign. So we've been doing this now for what? 3 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks, and I can assure the membership that everything's in order, and we have a business office that's working really well, and that our controller's on top of things. So I'm satisfied, and you can be assured that we're up there looking over the shoulders until we get a new general manager. But I agree with Doug, things are looking good. Thank you.
I want to make one more statement before we leave here or adjourn here, and we will give it about 10 minutes, and then we'll have our town hall. In my letter that I wrote in the columns, I missed someone very important, and I would like Bev Franzen to please stand. I thank Bob, and I thank Dick, and I thank Ross, and I failed to thank Bev for her service, and I sincerely apologize. Thank you for all you've done. With that said, we will adjourn for about 10 minutes and begin the town hall.